First story. I hated my twin son because his brother is more lovable. Now this kid ruined my birthday party, so I demanded my husband to ground his entitled son. He refused, so I punished him myself and took away all his electronics. He refused to follow, so I kicked him out of my house and demanded a divorce from my spineless husband. Now I'm regretting my actions. Everyone abandoned me. I'm writing this because I don't know what else to do. I've never posted here before, but after what happened on my birthday, I feel like I'm either losing my mind or being gaslit in my own home. I'm 36, my husband is 38, and we have 3 kids. Grace 14 and our twin boys, Zach and Joel 12. And I'll be blunt, the problem is between me and Joel. From my perspective, he's been emotionally distant for a long time, cold and sarcastic, and increasingly disrespectful, but now things have escalated into something I honestly don't know how to come back from. Let me rewind a little, because this didn't start overnight. Zach and Joel are twins, but they couldn't be more different. Zach has always been the affectionate, outgoing one. He talks to me, hugs me, and checks in with me when he sees I'm stressed. He's also really tight with Grace. They team up to tease each other or me in fun ways, and there's always some joke between them. It's not that Joel is a bad kid, but he's withdrawn, sensitive, easily offended, and avoids conversations that aren't strictly necessary. And for the last 2 years, it's like he's built a wall around himself, and I'm the main person on the outside of it. I've tried to understand him, truly. I've asked him if something's wrong, if he's angry with me, or if he feels left out. I've asked my husband if I'm doing something wrong, if I come off differently with Zach. But the answer I get is always frustratingly vague. He just feels like you treat Zach differently. That's it. No examples, no explanations. But how am I supposed to fix something when no one tells me what the actual problem is? It's not favoritism. I make breakfast for all 3. I show up at their events. I check homework. I say goodnight to each of them every night, and I write them little notes in their lunchboxes. If Zach responds to that more warmly, am I just supposed to pull away from him to even the scale? I know people will say, if a child says he feels left out, believe him, and I have. But I also feel like Joel has made his mind up that I'm this villain in his life, and nothing I do can ever be enough. The first real red flag was last fall, when Joel refused to participate in our family photo session. We were all dressed up, and he stayed in his room. When I tried to talk to him, he said he didn't want to be in a fake picture with fake people. That hurt badly. I was crying in the bathroom after that. My husband convinced him to come down and smile for 2 quick shots, but he was stiff, clearly unhappy. He hasn't been in any of our family pictures since, and yes, Zach and Grace still wanted those photos, so we took them. Then there was Christmas. We do matching pajamas. Everyone had fun with it, but Joel rolled his eyes, refused to wear his, and said I only liked Zach's photos anyway. I confronted him afterwards. I tried to explain that I love all of them. He just shrugged and said, "Whatever, Claire, not Mum." That started a pattern. He calls me by my first name constantly now. I hate it. It feels like he's stripping me of any emotional closeness or connection. But if I tell him not to, he claims I'm controlling. I've overheard him tell Grace things like, "She's only nice to Zach," or "Mum hates him." And when I ask him why he says that, he walks off. One time, he even told our neighbor's kid I only love the twin I wish I had. I won't lie, I went to bed that night crying my eyes out. I don't know how a 12-year-old learns to be so vicious with words. What's been killing me lately is how he shuts me down, even when I try to bridge the gap. On his birthday, I made him his favorite cake, handmade his gift, and decorated his room while he was out, and he said nothing. No thank you, no smile, just a shrug. I tried to laugh it off and told him he was being grumpy. He said, "I'm not faking affection for people who can't be bothered to pretend they love me." I was stunned, just completely winded. When I brought this up to my husband, he said Joel has a right to his feelings, and I snapped at him. I said, "So what am I supposed to do? Let him walk all over me because he thinks I like his brother more?" I've told my husband multiple times that this dynamic isn't sustainable, that Joel is turning cold and mean, and I'm scared of what happens if we let this rot keep spreading. And I am scared. Because if this keeps going, I don't know if I'll even have a relationship with my son by the time he's 16. Or 18. I'll be that mom who tried too hard and still ended up the enemy. And what's worse is my own husband is just passive. He keeps trying to balance things, like I'm the one who started the imbalance, when I've done everything I can to love this boy. Which brings us to my birthday, or, well, the disaster that used to be a birthday. I didn't want a big thing. I just wanted something intimate. Close friends, family, and a nice dinner at home. Grace helped decorate. Zach helped me pick music. Joel stayed in his room all day. I wasn't expecting him to be a ray of sunshine, but I still hoped maybe he'd come down. So I wrote him a handwritten note, literally sat down and penned. I'd really love it if you came. It would mean a lot to me. I slid it under his door. He didn't come. But later, when we were opening gifts, I noticed one with Joel's name on it. I was shocked. A tiny spark of hope lit up in me. Maybe he was trying. Maybe we'd turned a corner. I should have known better. It was a homemade gift, a picture collage. I opened it first, eager and honestly a little emotional. But as soon as I unwrapped it, everything around me stopped. I didn't even understand what I was looking at first. It was a family photo collage, except every single photo had Joel cut out. And not just that. There were drawings on my face, devil horns, slurs, and fake mum written in Sharpie. I dropped the gift. I started crying. I couldn't breathe. I got up and ran to the bathroom. I could still hear people talking in the living room. It was that kind of uncomfortable, low murmuring people do when something awful just happened, and they're trying not to make it worse. I locked the door, sat on the edge of the tub, and just cried. My hands were shaking so bad. It wasn't just embarrassment, it was this deep humiliation. That gift wasn't some random prank. It was deliberate, planned. He wanted to hurt me, and he succeeded. When I finally came out, the guests were gone. My husband had ushered them out, and the twins were cleaning up the food. Grace looked worried. Zach looked angry. Joel's door was closed. Nobody spoke. The house felt dead. I asked my husband, "Did you see it? Did you actually see what he did?" He said yes. And his exact words were, "It was bad. But we need to handle it calmly." As if my son hadn't just publicly shredded me in front of our closest friends. I asked what he was going to do about it, and he said, "I'll talk to him tomorrow." That's it. No consequences, no accountability. Just another talk that won't change anything. I said no. I told him this was serious, that Joel needed to face actual consequences. I said he should lose all his electronics for a month. I wanted him grounded, period. My husband immediately said that would make things worse, that Joel already hates me, and punishment would push him further away. I asked, "So what? I'm supposed to reward him for attacking me?" "Just let him sit in his room and feel powerful," he said. "It's not about rewarding him. It's about not escalating." I said, "He already escalated in front of everyone we know." He called me dramatic. That broke something in me. We argued for hours that night. He kept defending, understanding Joel's feelings, and I kept saying that none of this is normal. Kids can get upset, sure, but that wasn't just upset, it was spiteful. He planned that. He printed photos, cut them, and wrote insults. That takes time. Intent. It wasn't a meltdown. It was an attack. He said, "He's hurting, Claire. He thinks you favor Zach." I said, "Because you've let him believe that." My husband denies it, but he's always been soft on Joel, afraid to challenge him. When Joel ignores me, he shrugs it off. When Joel mocks me, he tells me not to take it personally. It's always me being too emotional, too reactive, too everything. By the time I went to bed, I was shaking with anger. I didn't even want to see Joel the next morning. I didn't sleep much. Around 6 a.m., I heard my husband knocking on Joel's door, quietly talking. I couldn't hear all of it, but I caught pieces, him saying things like, "She's really hurt. You crossed a line, and you need to think about apologizing." Joel didn't say a word back. Later, when I passed by, I heard video game sounds from inside. That's how sorry he was. He didn't care enough to even stop playing. By the next afternoon, I tried to talk to him myself. He opened the door halfway, saw me, and immediately said, "Go away, Claire." I said, "You don't get to talk to me like that after what you did." He said, "You deserved it." That's when I lost it. I told him, "I've done nothing but love you." He said, "You've done nothing but prove I don't matter." I was shaking. I told him, "You can hate me all you want, but you don't get to disrespect me in this house." He said, "Then stop pretending it's my house too." That line stuck with me. It sounded rehearsed, like something he's been thinking about for a long time. He thinks I've kicked him out emotionally, so he's returning the favor. It's poison. I ended up walking away before I said something I couldn't take back. My husband was standing in the hallway listening. He said, "See? This is why I didn't want you to talk to him right now." I told him he needs to stop treating Joel like a wounded animal. He said, "He is wounded." I said, "And what am I then? The punching bag?" It's been 3 days since the party. Joel hasn't spoken to me once. He only leaves his room to eat when I'm not in the kitchen. Grace is uncomfortable, Zach's angry, and my husband is pretending to be the mediator while doing nothing. I feel isolated in my own family. Nobody wants to confront him because he's the hurt one. Meanwhile, I'm the mom who cried in front of 10 people on her birthday, while her son laughed upstairs. I keep replaying the last few years, trying to figure out where I went wrong. Did I actually favor Zach? Maybe I did, unintentionally. He's easier to love, he hugs me, he jokes, and he shares things. Joel shuts me out completely. And yes, maybe I respond more warmly to the kid who lets me in. But I never stopped trying with Joel. I just got tired of being treated like a villain every time I breathed near him. There were warning signs. Like the time Joel skipped Zach's school play, even though we were all going. He told my husband he didn't want to watch Mum clap for her favorite son. Or the time I asked him to help me cook, and he said, "Ask Zach, he's your favorite little assistant." I laughed it off then, but it's clear now he meant every word. I've begged my husband to consider therapy for Joel, or family counseling, anything. He keeps saying, not yet, that it's not the right time. Meanwhile, I'm walking on eggshells in my own home. I can't say good morning without wondering if he'll twist it into something negative. What scares me most isn't that he hates me. It's that he enjoys it. There's a certain satisfaction in his tone when he says, "Claire." He wants me to feel what he thinks I made him feel: invisible, lesser, unloved. Maybe I did make him feel that way, but I never meant to. And I can't fix what he won't even let me talk about. My husband says grounding him will kill any chance of reconciliation. I think not grounding him kills any chance of respect. There's a difference between understanding a child's pain and allowing cruelty. I'm not expecting him to love me tomorrow. But I do expect him to face consequences for the way he's treating me. Everyone keeps acting like I need to walk on glass around Joel. I'm done doing that. He's 12, not 5. He knew exactly what he was doing when he made that collage. He wanted to humiliate me, and it worked. And now he gets to sit in his room playing games, while I'm the one walking around with the scar. So, Reddit, tell me honestly. Ada. Comments. Comment 1. Yeah, YTA. You remind me of my mother, not in the evil way, but in the self-absorbed way. You center yourself in everything. Your birthday becomes a referendum on your emotional needs. A 12-year-old scream for help gets reduced to public humiliation. The moment Joel started calling you by your name, that was a signal. Not just attitude detachment. He's distancing himself from you for a reason. And every time you ignored that and cried to your husband about how cold he is, you made it worse. And the Zach is easier line? That's it. That's the poison. You favored the kid who gave you what you wanted emotionally. And now you're punishing the other for not performing that same role. Also, your rage is scary. Straight up. The way you talked about Joel deserving punishment like it's revenge. You're mad he embarrassed you, not that he's in pain. You even describe your daughter as helpful, and your husband as passive, like everyone's either an ally or an obstacle. Joel's just another obstacle. If you don't get therapy, you'll lose him. Not in 5 years. Not when he's 18. He's already gone. And he's watching now to see if you'll ever admit that. Comment 2. YT. But this is deeper than favoritism or bad mom. You're in full emotional warfare with your kid, and you don't even realize it. You say you love Joel, but everything in this post is about your feelings. Your pain, your humiliation, your image in front of guests. You admit the kid's been pulling away for years. You've had a million chances to ask why, but instead of listening, you call him cold, mean, and withdrawn, and write off his reactions as emotional manipulation. He's 12. You're the adult. You don't get to interpret his quiet detachment as personal rejection, and then retaliate with guilt trips and favoritism. You say you never intended to favor Zach. Sure, I believe that. But intention doesn't equal impact. Zach is easier for you, so he gets more warmth and more closeness, and that snowballs. Joel sees it. Grace sees it. You even admit that you see it. But you still think he owes you respect just because you've tried. That's not how trust works. Also, what the hell was that reaction to the collage? Yeah, it was mean. But that was the scream for help you've been ignoring. That was pain in permanent marker. And your response was to demand a month-long grounding, and then accuse your husband of being soft. Come on. You're not just the RC hole. You're actively choosing not to fix this. Because fixing it would mean accepting that you did hurt Joel, even if you didn't mean to. And that terrifies you more than losing him. Update. It's been about 2 weeks since my birthday. I wish I could say things have improved, but honestly, It feels like every day something new breaks. I've completely lost control of my home, my kids, and my marriage. After my last post, my husband and I agreed not to punish Joel for the collage. I hated that decision, but went along for peace. Within a few days, the peace turned into full-blown chaos. The first blow came from Grace. She's usually the calm one, the peacemaker. Last weekend, I heard her and Joel whispering in his room. When she came out, I told her I didn't want her taking sides. She looked straight at me and said, "Mom, you made us pick sides a long time ago." I asked her what that meant, and she said, "You treat Zach like he can do no wrong, and you look at Joel like he's a problem you want to fix." I asked if her dad put her up to it, and she said no, that she's been watching me ignore Joel for years. She started listing examples. How I'd praise Zach for grades, but barely react when Joel did well. How I'd tell Zach, "I'm proud of you," but only tell Joel, "Good job." I tried to tell her she was twisting things, but she cut me off and said, "You don't even hear yourself." Then she walked off. I stood there shaking. It felt like betrayal, like my own daughter had joined Team Joel. My husband overheard part of it and told me later, "She's just saying what she sees." That sentence burned. So I decided to prove to them that I wasn't crazy. I installed a small voice recorder in the hallway near Joel's room. I wasn't spying, I just wanted evidence of how he talks to me so my husband could finally see what I'm dealing with. A few days later, I caught a confrontation. I'd gone to ask Joel to clean up the laundry pile outside his door. He immediately said, "Why do you care? It's not in your perfect Zach corner." I said, "Don't talk to me like that." He laughed and said, "You don't like being treated how you treat people." When I played that clip for my husband, he didn't react the way I expected. Instead of saying, "See, that's disrespectful," he got furious at me for recording it. He said, "That's not evidence. That's insane, Claire. You can't record our son like he's a suspect." He actually took my phone away for a minute and deleted the file. I just stared at him. My husband has never raised his voice to me like that. It scared me more than Joel's words did. After that, Joel got bolder. He must have known about the argument. He started ignoring me completely, walking past me like I'm invisible. When I tried to take his console for the weekend, he slammed his door and yelled, "Dad said you're not allowed to take my stuff anymore." That was it. I snapped. I went into his room while he was at school and unplugged everything: console, laptop, phone charger. When he came home, he found the cables gone. He went ballistic, shouting that I was violating agreements. I told him I didn't care. It's my house. He called me vindictive. I said, "You want to act like a stranger? Fine. You'll live like one." My husband walked in mid-argument. Instead of backing me, he took Joel's side again. He said, "You're proving every reason he resents you." That's when I screamed back. "Then maybe he should just go live somewhere else if he hates it here so much." He said, "Fine." He went to his room, packed a small bag, and called his aunt, my husband's sister. She came that same evening and picked him up. My husband didn't stop her. He didn't even try. I stood in the doorway while Joel walked out without looking back. And I won't lie, I didn't beg him to stay. I was too angry. I told myself maybe space would make him realize how cruel he's been. But the silence after he left didn't feel like relief. It felt like being erased. Grace barely talks to me now. She visits Joel at her aunt's place on weekends. Zach still hugs me, but has gone quiet too. He told me last night he doesn't want to be the favorite anymore. He said, "It's not fair to Joel, and it's not fair to me either." I told him I never made him the favorite, and he said, "You did without noticing." I didn't even know how to answer that. I just walked away. My husband has moved into the guest room. He says it's temporary, but I can feel the distance. He barely looks at me. We communicate through short sentences: who's driving Grace, who's cooking dinner. Every time I try to talk about Joel, he shuts it down. He says, "Not until you get help." Last night, he mentioned therapy again. But this time it wasn't for family. He said, "You need to talk to someone on your own, Claire. This isn't normal anymore." It felt like he was implying I'm crazy. I told him he's gaslighting me, that he's letting the kids disrespect me. He didn't argue. He just said, "I'm done arguing with someone who sees everyone as an enemy." So now I'm sitting in my room, looking at a pile of divorce papers I printed from an online template. I haven't filled them out yet, but I've started thinking about it. If my husband's going to keep undermining me, and my kids are going to treat me like a villain, maybe it's time to leave before they throw me out emotionally. Part of me still thinks I'm right, that discipline and respect matter, that I'm the only one trying to hold this house together. But another part of me knows I've lost control of every narrative. The kids see me as the problem. My husband sees me as unstable. Maybe I am. I don't even know what I'd fight for in a custody battle. Grace won't stay with me. Zach's loyalty is slipping. Joel already left. I'd end up in this same house, alone, surrounded by the ghosts of people who still exist, but no longer want to be around me. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I've gone from a ruined birthday to a ruined family in 2 weeks. And somehow, I still can't stop thinking, how did I become the villain in my own story? Ada? Comments. Comment 1. Jesus Christ, YTA. And I mean that with a mix of pity and frustration. You're unraveling, and instead of grabbing a life raft, you're throwing fire on the damn boat. You've completely lost the plot. You say your kid chose to leave, but you invited him to. You told a 12-year-old, maybe he should live somewhere else, and then when he called your bluff, you didn't flinch. You can't kick your child out emotionally and expect him to beg to stay. That boy left because he finally believed what you've been saying without saying for years, that he's unwanted. Also, the recorder? Are you serious? You're playing detective in your own home like your son is the enemy. That was never about getting help. You're trying to build a case against your own kid instead of understanding why he's drowning. You don't need a smoking gun, the whole house is on fire. Your husband's in the guest room. Your daughter sees right through you. Even Zach, your golden boy, wants out of the spotlight. And now you're staring at divorce papers because you can't admit you're wrong. You want a courtroom where you're right more than a family where you're loved. That's tragic. Comment 2. I hate to be this blunt, but YTA, and you sound like my mother, and I don't speak to her anymore. Not out of spite. Out of survival. Here's the thing. Zach doesn't want your love anymore because he sees the damage it caused. He watched you use him as a mirror, the reflection that makes you feel like a good mom. Joel didn't reflect that. He mirrored your insecurity, your favoritism, and your lack of awareness, so you hated looking at him. You resented that he didn't perform for you like Zach did. And now even Zach is exhausted from being your emotional crutch. And your daughter? She's done pretending. She's 14. That's not just teenage mood swings. That's the voice of a kid who sees the truth you're avoiding. She's right. You made them choose sides. You made your love a resource to compete for. You talk about custody like you're still in control of anything. You've already lost them emotionally. All you can do now is decide whether you'll face that or burn every bridge trying to stay the victim. Therapy. Not for optics. Not for court. For yourself. Because until you stop making everything about how hurt you are, you will never be the mom they need. Update. I wasn't planning on posting again. I figured Reddit had said enough. But I've been reading my old posts, every word I wrote, every comment under them. I've gone through them in therapy, line by line. At first, I thought reading it would help me defend myself. But it's had the opposite effect. Reading it back made me physically sick. I sounded paranoid, self-centered, obsessed with being disrespected, while my kid was crying out for help in the only way he knew how. I treated my family like opponents, like they were conspiring to make me the bad guy. I twisted my pain into entitlement. I thought love meant control. I see that now, too late. My husband is no longer my husband. The divorce was finalized 3 months ago. He didn't fight me. He just let me burn everything down. When I told him I was filing, I expected some pushback. Maybe even a fight to prove he cared. But all he said was, "You do what you think is best." That sentence haunted me more than any argument could have. Zach stayed with him. Grace, too. Joel, of course, never came back. They visit their aunt on holidays now. I hear about it through mutuals. I wasn't invited to Grace's birthday dinner. I sent her a message and a gift. She replied with a polite thank you. It felt like a stranger texting me. Zach hasn't answered me in 2 months. Joel blocked me completely. I'm living alone in a 2-bedroom apartment. It's quiet, not peaceful, empty. I go to therapy twice a week. I go to work. I make dinner for one and eat at the table by myself. Sometimes I leave the second chair pulled out, like I'm pretending someone's joining me. There are no more arguments. No shouting matches. No doors slamming. Just silence. And guilt. It took hitting bottom for me to finally see things clearly. When Joel left that night, I told myself he was dramatic. That he'd come back once he realized how much I did for him. But the truth is, I was the dramatic one. I treated my own child like a threat. I demanded apologies instead of asking why he was hurting. I weaponized affection and turned parenting into performance. If he didn't mirror love the way I wanted, I pulled back. The recorder. I still can't believe I did that. I listened to that recording again during one of my therapy sessions. The therapist paused it halfway through and asked, "What were you hoping to hear?" And I broke down. I didn't have an answer. I think I just wanted to catch him doing something wrong, so I could justify the way I felt. I didn't want the truth, I wanted permission to stay angry. But the truth was never on my side. I was emotionally spiraling. I was so consumed with proving I wasn't the villain that I became one. I wish I could blame it all on stress or burnout. But that would be a lie. Yes, I was exhausted. Yes, my mental health was in shambles. But none of that gave me the right to treat my family like pawns. I crossed so many lines. I chose pride over peace every time. And by the time I realized what I'd done, they were already gone. Therapy has helped. A lot. I've been diagnosed with untreated anxiety, emotional dysregulation, and trauma-related issues from my own upbringing. My therapist said I spent years carrying unprocessed emotional baggage and dumped it onto the one child who couldn't fight back the same way. That hurts to write. It's true. I've written letters to Joel dozens. I haven't sent them. Not yet. I keep rewriting them, hoping to find the version that doesn't sound like I'm making excuses. But maybe there isn't one. Maybe "I'm sorry" just isn't enough. Same with Grace. I read her journal once when she was 13. She never knew. She wrote that she felt stuck between two parents who hated each other and two brothers who were drowning in it. She said she wanted to disappear so no one would ask her to pick sides again. That journal entry crushed me. I carried it into therapy. I should have carried it into parenting, but I didn't. Zach. He was always the sweet one. And I poisoned him too. I put him in the middle. I made him my emotional support child. I treated his love as a balm for the rejection I felt from Joel. I taught him that pleasing me made things easier, and he did it until he couldn't anymore. I think the silence from him now is guilt mixed with self-preservation. And I don't blame him. I'd block myself too if I could. I can't undo what I did. I can't go back and sit on Joel's bed that day instead of demanding obedience. I can't erase the look on Grace's face when I dismissed her honesty as manipulated by their dad. I can't take back telling my husband he was weak for not disciplining his son when really, he was the only one strong enough to stay calm in the storm. So now I'm here, alone, and realizing I built this prison myself. I don't know what to do. I want them back, all of them. I want to talk to my kids without them flinching. I want to be someone they trust again, not someone they survived. I know that might never happen. I know forgiveness is not owed, and reconciliation might never come. But I have to try. I owe them more than just silence. I owe them change. So here I am, asking Reddit. What can I do? How do I reach out without pushing them further away? How do I show I've changed without demanding a clean slate? Is it even possible to rebuild anything after all the damage I've caused? I'm not looking for pity. I deserve the judgment. I just want to know, for those of you who've been through estrangement or forgiven someone like me. Where do I even begin? Second story. My fiancé has a whole other family he's been hiding, so I contacted her to warn her. But she tried to warn my fiancé that he might get caught. I'm sorry if this is long and all over the place. I met my fiancé when we dated as kids in middle school. We reconnected about 2 years ago after living life separately and meshed so well that we decided to just take the jump. His family lives in Texas. We originally lived in Minnesota, with his mother not doing well, so we moved down here to be close. My fiancé has a 2-bedroom that he'd purchased when he first learned of his mother's condition. This was about a year ago. At first, after we realized we wanted things long-term, he would fly back and forth every couple of weeks or so until I asked him to just stay with me. He had no intention of moving back, and it was kind of a, you move here or we do long-distance situation. He did not explicitly tell me that, but that is just what I gathered from our situation. After a time of thinking, I quit my job and just moved to be with him. I have been here officially for 40 days. Just a bit of backstory. When looking for something in the garage last week, I found a pair of baby-sized Nike shoes. I asked him who they belonged to, and he said he had no idea. I thought nothing of it at the time and just tossed them. 2 days ago, when going through the hamper to do our laundry, I found a small pink, blue-white t-shirt, probably the size of a 5 or 6-year-old. I immediately remembered the shoes, and my mind started to race. I admit I assumed the worst, that he's hiding a kid from me, and blew up a bit, accused him of lying to me, and started to get emotional and things of that nature. And an argument ensued after I didn't believe him when he swore he had no idea where these things were from. He is an only child, so no nieces. The only family he really talks to here are his parents. He offered no explanation other than simply insisting he has no idea. I pretty much shut down after realizing we were getting nowhere, and have spoken maybe 10 words to him since then. He is not pushing me either. It feels like I am just here. Since yesterday, I have just been filled with despair and regret about moving here, and I'm not even sure if I should be. I guess I'm just curious how I can go about this. The mere thought of apologizing for my blow-up and trying to rectify things when he is secretly lying to me about something like that just makes my stomach churn. I don't at all hope, or even want to believe that is the case. He has never given me any reason to feel like this, but it just doesn't make any sense to me. Comments. Comment 1. This is so weird. It requires a weird solution. You've got nothing to compare his reaction to, with respect to your findings. I think you should get a child's dress from a thrift store and bundle it into his washing. Then announce it as a new find, and ask him what's going on. If his reaction is any different from his previous reactions, you've got your comparison and can decide from there. Please note I picked a girl item, because I thought the other 2 items sounded like boy stuff. If he's equally nonchalant about it, then there's probably a sane reason somewhere. OP. This is actually a good idea. I'd never think of that myself, lol. Thank you. I may just consider it at this point. Comment 2. As someone else pointed out, there's no way you dated in middle school when he's 5 years older than you. He would have been 17 or 18, and either in his senior year of high school or already graduated. If this is real, the whole thing with the baby shoes and shirt makes me think he's hiding a kid. OP. We were 12 and 16 when we met. I shouldn't have said dated, but when you're 12, what else do you call it? We were neighbors and liked each other. It was never nefarious. Didn't even care to give those comments a response honestly. I'm dealing with enough then to read I'm lying or my fiancé preyed on me. Comment 3. You don't call it anything other than friends. A 16-year-old with any romantic interest in a 12-year-old is highly disturbing, especially in this scenario. I'm really concerned that you don't see that. You have unexplained children's clothing in your house with a partner that has a history of interest in children. I know it's hard to think of your partner that way, or yourself as a possible victim. But please think about yourself as a 16-year-old, and whether you could have been sexually attracted to a 12-year-old. OP. I'm only not thinking of him that way because I know the real dynamic of how our relationship was, even if I'm not articulating it correctly online in the heat of the moment. I appreciate your insight, though. Thank you. Comment 4. Girl. The worst case scenario is that he's a child predator. A hidden child would actually be way better than that. I have some questions about him, especially when you say you met in middle school. But he's 5 years older than you. So you were in middle school, and he was in high school, or what? He's already showed a preference for inappropriate relationships with minors in your own history. I think you need to start looking for more. Don't ignore those feelings of unease. Your gut is telling you something is wrong here, and you need to listen. OP. You're completely right, and I do appreciate the insight. But I shouldn't have said dated when I was really just a girl with a crush. We met as neighbors and hung out often. You'd likely perceive that as a relationship too as a 12-year-old girl. He didn't prey on me, and our relationship wasn't sexual. Just 2 kids who were close. Guess I should have clarified all this. Editing to add, I was 12, and he was 16 when we met. His birthday was a few months after. He went to college the year after that. Just for any further confusion. Update. Not sure I'm formatting this right, but just wanted to update for those still messaging me and commenting. This is probably anticlimactic for most of you and, in hindsight, may be obvious. But please refrain from the negativity or I told you so's in the comments. Trust me, I have beaten myself up enough. Nothing can be said that I haven't thought to myself already. Someone here suggested I suggest getting cameras for him and gauge his reaction. Thank you so much for reading. I lost you in the sea of comments, lol. He was very against it and jumped to the conclusion I was trying to catch him in something. A reaction that took me by surprise. After that I said, F it, and went through his phone another popular suggestion. Something neither of us had done since knowing each other. So I'd watched him put in the code from the corner of my eye, and then went through it when he slept. Found a woman he's been calling/answering calls from while he's working, maybe every other day. After my hands stopped shaking, I called from my phone and asked who she was. She asked me who I was, and I told her I'm his fiancé. She tells me she's the mother of his kids, and that he's the father of 2 boys and a girl, 10, 7, and 5 years old. That they met in college and have been on and off since then. But they are currently just co-parenting, an obvious lie. She then tells me she was told about me, and he'd said I was pregnant, and pretty much moved here at random against his will. That I was just a crazy one-night stand while they were on break, and he was just trying to co-parent. Basically playing this role of the heroic father to a fake baby trying to do right, when in reality he's just a psychotic posse. She seemed more relieved I wasn't pregnant than anything. But that is her issue. Told her about the shirt, and she said her kids spent the weekend. Another lie, because no one has even been here since I've moved in. Didn't even seem to care he hid his own children from a woman he was going to marry. Anyway, he doesn't know, but I'm leaving. I'll be using my little savings to get home and stay at a motel until I'm on my feet again. Thankfully, when I left, my boss said I was always welcome back. My flight is in 2 days. Also, I probably shouldn't have, but I broke his phone too and said I accidentally spilled water on it, because about an hour after I called the girl, she texted him, "Call me," and I panicked. I assume she plans to tell him that I know, even though I asked her not to. It hurts, and I've been evaluating everything thus far, every conversation we've had, every little piece that hasn't added up. One thing I will say, although he never begged me to move or anything, we did have numerous convos about the possibility, and a month before I moved here, he acted so excited and even sent me a bunch of job listings in the area. I definitely did not stalk him at all, but he clearly wants his baby mama if he's concocted this whole psycho fairy tale to sell her. So I'm honestly and truly done. Just trying to remain calm and sane until I'm up and out of his life for good. This whole time he hasn't even asked why I'm not talking to him either, thankfully, I guess, because I wouldn't know what to say. And I know he's a garbage parasite, but that just hurts me even more. It's like I really was just nothing this whole time. Uprooted my whole life literally for nothing more than a singular month of playing wife. Now to pick up the pieces and repair them all on my own, while his life stays unchanged and he's happy with his family. So yeah, this was probably more of a vent, but at least you guys can stop wondering. This has all happened within the last 48 hours, so I am still collecting myself emotionally. I do appreciate all the support and advice. And to any women currently feeling like something isn't adding up, please trust your gut the first time. Ignoring it will never work out in favor of the relationship. Comments. Comment 1. Whoa, OP. I'm so sorry. This is a lot. So they are not together, as he lives separately. She says they are on a break, but he owns another property that he's living in currently. How far away do his kids live? She sounds like she's not entirely truthful as well. I wonder how long he thought he could go on hiding them from you now that you're living together. OP. Thanks a lot. Yes, I get the feeling she's lying as well, but that is their prerogative. Any woman okay with her kid's dad living a double life to this extent is probably crazy too. They deserve each other. Comment 2. But are they actually together anymore? They could really be broken up, and she can't let go. But then it sounds like a super toxic relationship, and I doubt you want to be anywhere near that dumpster fire. And I guess it doesn't really matter, as he lied to you about having 3 kids. OP. Honestly, I did consider this as a possibility, but I feel like it was just my mind trying to justify things, so I stay. My thoughts and emotions have been all over the place, but I'm sure this situation would just get worse over time. Comment 3. She might be lying about everything. He's not innocent, however, as he knows precisely what's going on and is hiding it and lying. OP. Yeah, all I really care about is him hiding 3 kids from me. I can see her lying about the co-parenting and stuff, but I wouldn't want to be with him regardless. Could never trust him again. Comment 4. I'd leave ASAP. Even if she's lying, he's lying more. Just leave a note and go back home. OP. Yes, both are liars for sure. Unfortunately, I had to wait for the flight most convenient for me 2 days from now, but no note will be left. Slowly gathering my items and will be gone before he's off work. Thank you for watching the video. If you are interested in listening to these kinds of stories, we've got more in store for you. Simply subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share it with your friends.